Hello everyone, this is Aditya. Welcome to 3D Studies, and today we're going to begin periodic classification from class 11th chemistry. As I'm going to put the link of the first video in which we have discussed whole history of periodic classification of class 11th, and I hope you enjoyed and understand the basic interpretation of that chapter. And today I'm going to begin from where I left with modern periodic table. So before understanding of modern periodic table, let me clear to you. Modern periodic law. What is the modern periodic law? Modern periodic law says that every element is a periodic function of their atomic weight. And that's all for modern periodic law. Now, let's talk about modern periodic table. So, in the modern periodic table, we all know the structure of our periodic table. I'll give you the GIF for you to understand the modern periodic table. And yes, we all know this particular modern periodic table is classified into periods and your groups. So what are they? Your horizontal rows are called your periods. And yes, there are 7 horizontal rows, which is 7 periods. Now talking about vertical columns. Vertical columns, so there are, they are called your groups, and there are 8 vertical columns. Now we will be talking about in brief of groups as well as your periods. So let's begin it. So let's talk about the groups. So basically, we all know groups are classified and there are 18 groups. Means groups are classified in 18 terms. And what are the 18 groups we are required to know? That is, first is your from group number 1 to your group number 2. They are called your as S block elements. Talking about the second group, that is your from group number 3 to group number 12. It is your transition element known your D block elements. Talking of your third, start with your 13th group to 18th group, well known as your P block element. Now, we know this is the periodic table in other. There are 2 periods. What are they known? Let me tell you. There were 2 groups. At the last, what they known? They are known your lanthanoids and actinoids, and called as F block elements, also known as your inner transition elements. So, I hope the classification of groups is clear to you. From group number 1 to group number 2, they are called your S block element. 3 to 12, transition element, well known your D block element. 13 to 18 is your P block element, and lanthanoid and actinoids are your F block elements. Well, the main thing is in this particular group is that every group tells us and the group of the elements, right? हर एक group में elements है. So हर एक element, right, is written in the form of electronic configuration, and that particular electronic configuration is gives you as a outermost shell or the valence electron, right? Like I can give you an example. Like lithium could be written as it's a part of your S block element. So lithium could be written as helium 2s1. Now this is very clear to you that this particular lithium is in the form of NS1, and this is a valence shell electronic configuration or outermost shell electronic configuration. Let me give you an idea of how the electronic configuration of outermost shell tells us the particular group or the number of group in which it belongs to. Okay, let's talk about the example for taking off group number 1, example for S block, example from S block elements. Now, like your lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, and so on. It should be written as in the form of your lithium could be written as your helium 2s1, sodium could be written as neon 3s1, potassium could be written as argon 4s1, and rubidium as so on, krypton 5s1. So you can see this table goes and gives you the particular electronic configuration of the valence shell in the form of NS1. Okay, so this is the example of groups. Clear? Now what this says? This says that the particular group, that these elements belong to this particular group, number 1. And these elements having the same electronic configuration are of the same group, which is group number 1 from S block element. Clear? Now let's move ahead and understand in brief of periods in periodic classification. So let's talk about the periods. Okay. Now the periods shows every period tells us about the number of shells or the energy levels of the elements. Okay. Now let's talk about the example. I could check the period number 1. Let's take it, and you all know there are 7 periods. Okay. Need not to tell you again and again. I'm gonna bore you all. Okay. So period to start with, like I'm gonna take your example. Example could be your lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and so on. We all know the electronic configuration of lithium could be written as helium 2s1. For beryllium, it could be written as helium 2s22. For boron, it could be written as helium 2s2 2p1. For carbon, it could be written as helium 2s2 2p2. For nitrogen, it could be written as helium 2s2 2p3. For oxygen, it could be written as helium 2s2 2p4, and so on. So you can clearly see periods tell us about the number of shell or the energy level of the particular elements in a period. Hopefully this is clear. Now let's talk about I hope this is clear. Everyone is understand all about the period, what the period's work is, and how the one period or the elements in one period could be written in the form of electronic configuration. Okay, now let's talk about the nomenclature of electronic configuration of the elements. So let's talk about the nomenclature of elements or the periodic elements. So, how we are going to do the nomenclature of the elements which is present in our periodic table, okay? So for understanding the nomenclature or how to write the how to write the name of the elements which is present in our table, we are required to know or learn a simple table from 0 to 9. What is going to be that? It's going to be 0. I'm going to write it first of all the name from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then I'm going to put the 2 things which is in the form of like your name, it's your numbers, it's going to be your name, and yes, I'm going to give you the abbreviations. Okay, So like 0 would be written as, you should remember it, 0 for nil, and 1 for un, 2 for byte, 3 for try, 4 for chord, like that, okay? So for 0, we use as nil, and the abbreviation goes as n. For 1, we use un, and the abbreviation goes as u. For third, we write as by, abbreviation is b. 4 is try, abbreviation is t. Fourth is quad, abbreviation is q. Fifth is pent, abbreviation is p. Sixth is hex, abbreviation is h. Seventh is sep, a for oct, 9 for n, and the abbreviation goes like F, O, and N for E. So this is the table required by us to remember for writing the nomenclature of the elements. How to remember it? 0 for, let me give you the trick for remembering it. Like, we simply say the person who doesn't use its full, he have its full mind but doesn't use it. So we say, are you a Neel Bata Sanata? You don't know anything. So like that we say, you don't know anything. Matlab uske paas, he is having the brain but he is not using it. He is using the brain 0%, right? He is having 100% of brain but he is giving the response as 0%. So you can remember it by 0 for nil, and then the table goes as 1 for un for 1, 2 for by, 3 for try, 4 for chord, 5 for your pen, 6 for hex, 7 for your sept, 8 for your oct, and 9 for your n. Okay, now let's talk about the example. And the nomenclature of element is very important. You can say why? Because in JEE mains, I could not remember the year. It could be 2018 somewhat. The question was tell me the nomenclature of the number 190. So see, writing on the nomenclature of the number, the most important thing which you are required to know is, notice that on writing the number, when you have completed on giving the names of the number at the end, you are required to use I, U, M. And that's too necessary. If you're not using it, you're going to get it wrong. So let me give an example for 119. For 1, we know it's un. For 1, we know it's un. For 9, we know it's your in. And yes, it's completed. Not at all. What we are going to use it in this? I'm going to use this I, U, M. And now your aim is completed. The question is asked, tell me the nomenclature of the number 119 and its abbreviation. So how you can make the abbreviation? The first letter of un is U. The first letter of un is U. The first letter of N is E. So what is the abbreviation you get? U, U, E. So that's very, very important. We can have more example. You can do that in the comment below if you know the correct answer. I'm giving you at random. It could be 7, 3, and 6. Write it at your own. And I want your answer in the comment below. Okay. So for 7, we know it's step. For 3, we know it's try. And for 6, we know it's hex. Now remember it. Like TT is repeating somewhat, you will get I repetition, or you will get EE repetition. So in that case, what you're going to do, you're going to write at once. How are you going to write it? SEPTRI hex. And it's clear it is written step try hex. What is the abbreviation? Step for S, try for T, and hex for H. STH. I hope the simple thing and the nomenclature of these all elements is clear to you. Now you can write any number nomenclature in very easy manner. Now I'm going to talk to you about the electronic configuration of elements. How you will write it, electronic configuration and element, and I can guarantee says this will be your easiest way, which I'm going to tell you after that, how to write the electronic configuration. So let's move ahead without any other. So, okay. So what I was going to talk to you about, electronic machine, not at all. Electronic configuration. Electronic configuration of periodic elements. Okay. So let's talk about electronic configuration of elements. So, okay, before starting off and understanding how to write electronic configuration of element, the first thing is understanding the SPDF. Now we know we have just talked about F block element, P block element, D block element, and F block element. So on these bases, we are going to write electronic configuration of element. Now S starts with 1s. S is basically written as 1s. P is written basically as 2p. D is 3D, and yes, for F is your 4F. Now, why this particular thing is written like this? Why? So the answer is this particular F is started with your first shell as 1. S shell start. Basically, F is start with your first cell, P is start with your second cell, D is start with your third cell, and F start with your fourth cell. That says that why the 1, 2, 3, and 4 is written as, before S, P, T, F. Now, one thing you are required to remember is a simple thing is how you can remember the electronic configuration of element. Remember S, S, P, S, P, S, D, P, S, D, P, S, F, D, P, S, F, D, P, S. It's gonna be so easy for writing the electronic configuration from 0, from the 0 it doesn't exist, from 1 to 118. You can write any electronic configuration by remembering this table. What is the table? And that seems difficult for, recently you are just seeing the video, so it will be very much difficult to remember this video. You say how we can remember it, but I'm guaranteed saying it. When you will start writing, the electronic configuration in this manner, your required is the practice, and how much you give the time to this particular electronic configuration table, you will be able in that doing it. Okay, so what is the trick was SSP, SPS, DPS, DPS, FDPS, FDPS. Clear? Now I'm gonna write it again for your understanding. Is this clear? Okay. So what was that? Your S, P, S, P, S. On writing the electronic configuration in the side of your notebook, write this particular thing and then see the magic, how you are going to write every number electronic configuration in just a minute. SSP, SPS, DPS, DPS, FDPS, FDPS. Okay? Now see, as I told you, S start with your first shell, so I'm going to put 1 over here, and every S I'm going to number it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Clear? Now here your 8S doesn't exist yet, but it could come in the future. Okay? Now here 8S doesn't exist yet, but it could come in the future. So I'm just writing for your understanding. Okay? Now P start with the second shell as I told you, so writing on 2, and again repeating the same manner for P, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Similarly, starting with D, it starts with your third cell, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Starting with F with the fourth cell, 4F, and your 5F, and that's the end. Now, let me tell you the one thing. This is the electronic configuration of every element, and 1S will be smaller than 2S, 2S will be smaller than 2P, and so on. And so on. So this is the table. Now, remembering points are written in your notebook, so you can never forget it. Point number 1 is S contains your 2 electrons. Adding on 4 in it, your P capsule contains your D and then your F. Okay. Now P adding on 4 to S, you're gonna get. I'm just telling you to remember how to remember कि S में कितने electrons हैं, P में कितने, D में कितने F. I can say directly कि S belongs to 5, P में आपके 6 आते हैं, F में D में आपके 10 आते हैं, F में आपके 14 आते हैं. So you would not be able to do. What is requirement is S में you can remember it कि there are 2 electrons. Adding on 4 you're gonna get is 6 electron. Again adding on 4 you're gonna get is 10 electron. And again adding on 4, adding on 4, you're gonna get is 14 electron. So by this way, you can easily remember कि कितने electrons किस shell में होते हैं. Clear? Now let's talk about and writing the electronic. I want from you to write the electronic configuration of 30 and 30. Right? Any number. I'm talking about 30 के लिए 30 element जो है in my periodic table. I want the electronic configuration of that particular element. How are you gonna put it? 1s. Now s has 2 electrons. We know. So you're gonna put it 2, 1. Again, we're going to 2, F again 2, and P is 6. How much we have done? 10 filling of the electron had been done. Now again 2, 6, and 2. Again 20 filling of electrons has been done. Now only 10 is left. So here D is your 10 electrons. So what is the electronic configuration of 13th element? That is your 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, and your 3d10. And this is the electronic configuration for your 13th element in our periodic table. I hope, and I'm guaranteed saying it, you get it, this particular, writing of electronic configuration of any element. You want from me to write it for 60, add on 10, then again 6, then again 2, then again, and so on. So like this, you can fill out the electronic configuration of any such elements. Okay? Now let's talk about the electronic configuration of periodic table, like elements in the periodic table. So what is my topic is? My topic is electronic configuration of elements in the period of periods. So let's talk about. Now the first thing which I'm gonna talk to you about is period number 1. Then your second is, okay, I'm gonna put the numbering as A. B is your period number 2. C is your period number 3. Then, as we know, there are 7 periods. Period number 4, period number 5, period number 6, and period number 7. So we all know there are 7 periods which exist. Okay. Now, let me talk about the first period and how many electronic configuration of element is gonna come in this particular period. So remember our periodic. So remember our periodic table, and yes, in first period there could be only filling of 2 electrons, which means from Z is equals to 1 to Z is equals to 2, and also the electronic configuration will be written as 1n. In this particular, it comes your 1s1 and 1s2. Okay. Now talking about your second period, there could be the filling of 8 electrons. For 3, your filling of 18th electron. Am I doing wrong? All right. Okay. If you're thinking this is wrong, that's great. And if you're saying this was right before, then look at the board. So there will be in the third as well as the second, the filling of 8 electrons will be done. Now why is that? First of all, let me explain you the second period. Then we will jump on third period. So in the 8 electron period, in the second period, we are going to write it as 3 2 10, and the electronic configuration will be written as 2s and 2p. How? 2s1, 2s2, and 3p1 and 3p2. Clear? And they exist from 3 to 10, 8 electrons. Now, period number 3. Now, as I told you, okay, now here were your not electrons, it was your element, and here is your 8 elements, okay? Now, period number 3 belongs to your 8 elements. As I told you, was saying of your 18 element. First of all, look in the board. Okay, here Z is equals to your 11 to 18. Okay, and yes, it fills in 3s and 3p. You would ask me where I left 3d. Why I left 3d? What is the difficulty on adding the 3d here? So that's the difficulty is, as I told you, the table of electronic configuration has SSP, SPS, DP. It started with okay. Look at very carefully. Filling the electrons after 3p, the electron will fill in the 4s electronic configuration. Here you can see it. 3p के बाद 4s में fill होगा. Then after it will go and jump in the 3d. So what is clear is 4s is smaller than 3d, and in the 4, n is equals to 4, and 4 gives n gives the principal quantum number, and yes, it decides ये किस period में आने वाला है. ठीक है? So where n is equals to 4, this belongs to period number 4. Now, अगर ये 4th period का element हो गया, then after that उसके जो भी आएगा, that particular element will belongs to period number 4 and so on. Is that clear? So that is why यहाँ पे 3p के बाद 4s में जो filling होगी, that will jump to the 4th element, not the 3d will go in the 3rd element. Okay? third period. Okay. Now talking about your fourth period, which belongs to your 18 elements, where Z is equals to 19 to 36, and fill as 4S, 4P, and 3D, or it could be written as 3D, 4S, and 4P, as per your writing skills. Well, 18th element again comprises in your period number 5, and where Z is equals to 37 to 54. Okay. Now again, this particular will fill in 5S, 5P, and 4D. Carrying on the 6 elements at 6 period and 7 period, it carries you 32 elements. This also carries you 32 elements. And yes, you are very clear here. Z is equals to 55 to your 86, which is written as 6S, 6P, 6S, 6P, 5D, and 4S. Clear? Now moving ahead, in the 32 element of period number 7, where Z is equals to 87 to 118, and here enter all the elements in the periodic table and gives you the electronic configuration as 7S, 7P, 6D, and your 5. So I hope you are very clear with the period classification, electronic configuration of period of our elements in periodic table. So I hope till talking about modern periodic table and the classification between groups and periods is much more clear to you, and the tricks I told you in the between is very clear to you. And now after I'm gonna back with lecture number 3, talking of your F block element, P block element, D block element, well known your transition and inner transition element. And in brief, in brief we will be understanding the interpretation of every topic and the subtopics carried in that particular topic. So I just want from you, if you are liking my content and the video, do subscribe the channel and keep liking, and do practice in this particular chapter, because this chapter requires a lot of practice, and keep working. Thank you.